So, good morning. Today I want to introduce you to India Marshall Rhodes, who is the owner of Bottle Bazaar. Hi, India.
Hi, Louise.
So, a fascinating subject because obviously everybody loves wine. How did you get into running your own company? Because I think you've pretty much always been into wine, haven't you?
Yeah, pretty much. It was actually, so how I got into wine was I did a round the world trip after university. I didn't study wine or viticulture or anything at uni. I did IT, but after that, I did a round the world trip, and it was when I was in Australia, in the Swan Valley, in Western Australia. I just did like a touristy day trip around some vineyards and just completely fell in love with it, and it really just sparked an interest. And after coming back, I just realised I didn't really want to be sat behind a desk coding and doing all the IT stuff. It just didn't excite me. I didn't love it, and I did love wine, so I looked for a job in the wine trade, and I was lucky enough to find one. Moved down to London, and then I spent 8 years working in the wine trade, supplying bars, restaurants, gastropubs, Michelin-starred restaurants, lovely boutique hotels, so supplying them with their wines. I was doing that for 8 years before I started Bottle Bazaar.
So when you say in the wine trade, you've obviously got to understand the wines. There's so many. Well, okay, from an outside point of view, who haven't got a clue about wine, there appears to be so many different types of wines. Obviously, you've got your reds, your rosés, your whites, and all your sparklings, and I'm showing how ignorant I am. So how do you actually get to understand that and what they taste like and what the subtle differences are? Do you drink a lot of wine?
Period of learning, so I just started with a passion and an interest, and I learnt on the job, and then they trained me and put me through my WSET wine exams, so at the first company that I worked for. So I remember my first tasting experience as part of the team, and sat around a big boardroom table, and I'd never formally tasted wine before, and I knew that everyone was going to start spitting it out, and I was petrified. I was like, I do not want to spit in front of
No, it might go everywhere.
So it's intimidating. And the guy next to me, he just sort of like whispered to me, it's like, you'll be fine, just go home tonight and practice by the sink. And that was what I practiced. Spitting and tasting is a practice as well. You just need to taste so many different wines, and it's not about drinking it, it's about tasting it and considering it and thinking about what you're tasting. And once you get into that habit, you're so much more aware of the flavours in the wines that you get to understand it, to remember it, and to learn what you like.
So from a taste point of view, obviously we're all different, and some people like some things and some people like others. Is there, I know you can recommend, this particular wine would go with this type of food, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And how is that just a personal thing in terms of taste? So you and I might have completely different, well, probably would have completely different tastes.
You mean the wine and food matching?
Mm.
No, that's not a personal thing. So, there are, what beef tastes of, what chili tastes of, Chardonnay is probably not a good example, because depending on where it's grown, it can be very different.
Right.
But certain grape varieties will have certain characteristics, and they will clash if you put them together. It's like if you put two different foods together that are really clashing, that just won't work.
Go. Okay. Yeah, so actually you pick up a good point in terms of different grapes, in terms of different regions. So your knowledge is obviously vast. So what made you then decide to open Bottle Bazaar?
I'd always, in the back of my mind, I'd always had this idea that I would love to have my own business. I didn't really know like what it would want to be, and I was made redundant from one of the companies that I was working for, and I just thought, well, this is what I'll do then. I'll start my own company. And I loved wine, and I really wanted to stay in the wine trade, so I knew it had to be wine focused, but I wanted to do something a bit different, and the wine trade is very traditional, but I wanted to do something slightly different but within it. And at that time, personalisation was getting quite big. This was back in 2013. Like Coca-Cola were putting the names on their bottles, and it was really popular. So I just thought, yeah, maybe that is a way that we can do it. Like, you can have branded bottles of wine for companies, you can have it as gifts for people, because people always choose on the label as well. I worked in a friend's wine shop for about 6 months just to get some experience of working in the shop and seeing how people acted in the shop, what their likes were, how they chose their wine. And it was really interesting to see that actually very few people would ask for help, and if they did, they often went for the one that they just liked the label of.
I guess actually it's really interesting because we haven't really spoken about what your company does. So you have a wide range of fine wines, and then you can personalize the labels on those wines, and you can anybody can then go online and either pick a label and customize it so that it's personal to them. So for things like thank yous or gifts, especially now people are looking for different things. So can you give us a little bit more? I know I've just kind of very quickly said it, but it's your company, so can you tell me more about it?
Yeah, of course. So as you said, yes, it's personalised gifts. So on the website you can go on, choose a wine. There's about 25 different wines. You can choose a label design. Again, there's hundreds of label designs, and personalise it with your words. So it's great for gifts. I have got an example here.
Well, there you go.
So I'm not sure if you can see that.
Yeah.
So people buy them for like birthdays, anniversaries, thank you gifts a lot at the moment. People are feeling gratitude and expressing it a lot. I'm getting lots of gifts. And then also corporate bottles. This is the one for another Wibbon member.
Okay.
Gifted wine as well.
So you can go on and you can choose the wine that you want, and then you can choose the label that you want, and then you package it up and send it directly to that person or to the person that's ordered it.
That's right.
Fantastic. So what kind of thank yous are people doing? Is it just general thank yous? Is it for birthdays or anniversaries?
Yeah, so all of those. Recently, so I did some for corporate client who wanted to thank all his team who had worked so well remotely during lockdown, and so it's people just saying thank you for all those sorts of things, retirement gifts, leaving gifts, any sort of occasion really,
Births, definitely need it once you've had a baby.
New baby ones. Yeah,
that's brilliant. And I know the other thing that you do is a wine club, so what's that all about then?
Oh, I love the wine. So it is it's a monthly wine box, which you don't have to do monthly if you don't want to. You can have a wine and gift it as a one-off, and you get a box of 4 wines delivered, and then access to our private Facebook group where we discuss the wines every week. I do a video presentation on the wines, give you food and wine matching ideas. And then throughout the week in the group, people post what they've decided to eat with their wine and whether it worked or not. And I always do a post or 2 of what I've eaten with it and how it's worked together. So it's really fun.
That's brilliant. So people can also gift that as well, can't they?
Yeah.
So if you're looking for something, it's almost like an experience, I suppose. If you're looking for something a little bit different, then you can buy a month subscription which will give you the 4 wines and the access to the pairings and the videos and that type of thing. So it's like
That's right.
a tasting experience from home.
Yeah, that's it. So, but you get to do one every single week. So yeah, it's really fun. You learn a lot about it. I tell you about the wine, how it's made, and how that impacts the flavour. And you learn about the characteristics of wine. And like so many people were started off thinking, I don't like oaked wines. But actually, there's so many different levels of oaking and different processes that you can go through and different oak that you can use, that actually a lot of people end up saying, oh, turns out I do like oaked wine, I just don't like over oaked wine. So yeah, you can learn a lot through it.
I don't even know what oaked wine is, so I clearly need to join the wine club, India. Sorry,
Oh.
It just shows you how rubbish I am at it. I like drinking wine, but I don't really know what I'm drinking, so I'm probably an ideal client for you, to be fair.
Well, it's when it's aged in oak barrels, and that imparts flavour onto the wine. So
Right.
Unoaked wine is like a pure expression of the fruit. And when it's oaked, that's another winemaking technique that the producer has used to change the flavour and enhance the flavour. So depending on the type of oak that they use, it might add buttery notes, it might add vanilla, or lots of different.
Sounds delicious. So how can people get hold of you?
They can find my website, which is www.bottlebazaar.co.uk.
And you can ship anywhere in the UK, so you don't have to be local.
Unless you're on a tiny little island in Scotland, I can reach you. It's mainland UK.
Okay, that's brilliant. I think what we need to do is some more sessions, because obviously your topic is so interesting and people just don't understand it. So hopefully you'll come back and join us again another time, India.
I'd love to.
Thanks ever so much for today.
Thank you.